should I play the Suikoden games in chronological order? What you should do, it's up to you. You can play them in chronological order if you want to, but to be completely honest, it doesn't really matter that much because every single Suikoden game has a self-contained story. It's pretty much, it's not exactly standalone, but you can jump in with any. Dude, Suikoden is my favorite series of all time, and I played every single one of them in random order. The first one that I played was Suikoden Tactics, which, yeah, okay, it's the prequel to the series. Actually, I started with the right game, but I didn't know that. And then I jumped to Suikoden 2. And then I played, Suikoden 1, and then Suikoden 4, and then Suikoden 5, and then Suikoden 3. So you see what I did? And did it matter that much? Do I resent that? Did I go crazy? Was I like, oh no, I shouldn't have done that, man. I should have started with the beginning. No, because the games aren't direct sequels to anything. You can just start with any, man. But if you want to start in chronological order, okay, so here you go. The first one is Suikoden 4 and or Suikoden Tactics. They take place around the same time, okay? You want to play Suikoden Tactics first to understand pretty much everything. But Suikoden Tactics is more of a spin-off and it's not a standalone game. So I recommend starting with Suikoden 4. And then after Suikoden 4, jump to Suikoden 5. And then Suikoden 1, then Suikoden 2, then Suikoden 3. And that's it. Okay, there's other spin-offs. Tier Karais on the Nintendo DS. That's a different universe, man. Doesn't even take place in the same universe as far as I'm concerned. And then there's one, the PSP, that's been recently fan translated. Great game too. Recommend it. Again, doesn't seem to be part of the same universe. So only 6 games take place in the same universe. Oh well, and I guess they are the Suikoden novels. They are visual novel games on the PS1, also fan translated. They're pretty good, but I understand visual novels aren't for everybody. So if you want to jump into those, make sure to play them after Suikoden 2. Okay? So in chronological order, Suikoden 4, Suikoden Tactics, Suikoden 5, Suikoden 1, Suikoden 2, Suikoden 1 and 2, and finally Suikoden 3, and there you go. Which Grandia do you like more, 1 or 2, based on the HD remaster? I'm always gonna pick Grandia 2 on any version over Grandia 1, any version whatsoever, you know. I love Grandia 1, don't take me wrong, but Grandia 2 is just a special game, man. Yeah, it's such a great game. And actually I think it's better. In terms of remaster, for the HD collection, you know, I think the Grandia 2 remaster is a little bit better. Grandia 2 looks great, plays great, whatever, right? But it has, I just felt like the frame, for example, in Grandia 1, even in the PS1 version, there were these like frame rate issues whenever like you enter a new town and there's like the aerial shots, aerial camera views, you know, like they show you around, or for a certain scene or a certain dungeon, you know, and it lags, right? And that doesn't happen in Grandia 2, right? Grandia 2 still has a few hiccups, you know. If you were my streams on Twitch, you probably noticed that whenever Ryudo wins a battle and he throws the sword at the ground, he like lags for like a second. He pauses like, you better practice if you want to beat me, right? And he says that and he's about to throw the sword and he lags for like a fraction of a second. Okay, there's some hiccups in there, you know, but I feel like overall the performance of Grandia 2 is better than Grandia 1, but it's not like it's vastly superior, no. I mean, the difference is just they're bare bones. You can't go wrong with either version in terms of remasters, but they aren't the best remasters ever, okay? Don't expect them to be like, wow, no. Okay? So keep that in mind. But yeah, Grandia 2 over Grandia 1 any day for me personally. Hello, please remake Final Fantasy 8. Hey, hello. Is this the CEO of Square Enix? The one who makes the decisions about remakes and remasters? Oh hey, I'm Erick, Landon RPG. Hello? He hung up on me. I shouldn't have said my name, man. I'm gonna call again. Yeah, hello. I want to talk to the man in charge of Square Enix, the one who makes the decisions about remakes and remasters. Who is this? This is John Smith, man. I'm a big fan of yours. We've worked before. I don't know if you remember me. John Smith, you know, Washington, D.C. Yeah, that John Smith, yeah. Who am I speaking to? Tetsuya who? Tetsuya Nomura? Did you hear what IGN said about Stellar Blade? Oh my god, that's not gonna stop, is it? What, the fucking dramas? You gotta be kidding me, man. It's the same, you know, half of the reviewers and journalists and magazines and stuff are gonna say, oh, the game is offensive, he's misogynist, he's sexist and whatnot, and fuck it. And the other half of the world, the other half of reviewers and magazines and journalists and the press and whatever are gonna say the game is excellent, play it, strongly recommended, right? It's that game. He created that, you know, that thing. It's one of those games. They want to sabotage that game. Fucking social justice warriors, man. Kiss my fucking Mexican ass, all of you. The developer don't give a fuck. They don't give a shit about your fucking politically correct whining. Go to hell. The game has the biggest pre-orders in the entire fucking year. More than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Joke's on you, assholes. Stellar Blade will be a fucking success, and you will suck it. We have to admit the fan service is part of the success. That's the whole point. You know, if all the feminists are attacking Stellar Blade, they should attack almost every single JRPG in existence. Almost every single one of them has, at the very least, one overly sexualized female character. I just don't understand why they are picking on this game, man. Probably because the news got out of these two fucking employees who got fired. And then everybody lost their minds over that, you know? The social justice warriors, PC babies, you know, came to the rescue. But yeah, I mean, the same can be said about any JRPG in existence, man. I mean, have you played... wow. It's pointless to give you examples. Pointless. I crashed out on Trails of Cold Steel 3. Does it get better? Or should I play the fourth one? No, stick to it. It gets really freaking good. Steel 3 is a slow burn, man. It's a slow burn. I went through the same. I was like, man. I got to a point where I was like, I don't want to... I mean, I'm bored. Stick to it, man. Trails of Cold Steel 3, the second half. Pretty damn good. Stick to it, man. You know what you should do instead? Just skip the side quests. Stick to the main story. Maybe if you want to rush it a bit, change to easy mode. And just speedrun the game until it gets interesting. You could do that. I think a lot of people could do that, you know, with video games. If they're starting to get bored with a modern JRPG with difficulty settings and fast forward and fast travel, you know, all of those quality of life features from nowadays a lot of modern JRPGs have, I think people could do that, you know. If they start feeling like a game is too boring or too slow, I mean, just do that, you know, forget about the side content, stick to the main story, play it on easy, and then when it gets interesting, change back to normal. And do everything, you know. It'll get you more excited. That's my tip, my advice for slow burn JRPGs. Yeah, that's a good one. You know, how should you deal with slow burn JRPGs or with slow JRPGs? Doing that. I mean, not every single JRPG is gonna have the same options, you know. If you go back to the past and play the PS2 JRPGs and below that, you know, you're gonna have to suck it up. Suikoden 5, I'm looking at you. Suikoden 5 is like this, you know. It goes like this. It starts up pretty interesting. You go into this town and there's something bad happening in there. And then you get a bit of a twist. But then, and it hooks you in. It hooks you up, right? But then you get back to town. You get all to watch all the scenes. You gotta visit your sister, the princess. And then, wow, that gets boring fast, man. And then there's this mission to do some kind of pilgrimage to I mean, it gets boring. And then eventually you get to some other place that I'm not gonna spoil. And it gets interesting again. And then you go back and boring again. But then shit happens and that's when it finally hooks you up. And you're like, it doesn't let you go. It's like, oh my god, blows you away from there. So, right? But in games like Suikoden 5, you can't just skip it. But what you can do is ignore the side content. I mean, there's barely any side content in the Suikoden games. The side quests are pretty much recruiting the characters, right? But what I'm trying to say is that all you should do in a slow JRPG, no matter the era, you know, is just focus on the main story and try to get there to the interesting part, to the climax as soon as you can. And that's gonna be a better experience. And the Trails series are known for that, you know, most of the Trails games are pretty slow. They're slow at the beginning, you wanna get there, you like, everybody, you see everybody praising them, and you're like, man, this is nothing special. I have a friend who played Trails in the Sky out of the hype, because of the hype, and he was like telling me, Erick, go to hell, man, this is one of the most boring RPGs ever, you know, okay, you didn't like it, you know, but you were expecting too much out of it, okay? Some of the Trails games are slow burn, you know, you need to stick to it, be patient, you'll get there, you'll get to the good parts, and trust me, the best thing you can do is do something like that, like play it on easy, or ignore the side content, ignore the side quests. A lot of the side quests in modern JRPGs, you can do them afterwards. Okay, it's not like if you don't do it right now, before chapter 2, you'll miss it. So, sure, there are still side quests like that, you know, but most of them you can do them like near the end of the game if you want to. So it's okay, man. Just take it easy with the game if you want to, or take it fast. Go fast. Fast forward the game, speed run it. And then once you get to the interesting part, voila. Do you will use a Gameshark or cheat for play hard RPGs? No. Sometimes video games give you certain ways to cheat, which therefore it isn't cheating, because that was the intention of the developers, to give you something extra, a little bit of help, like an option. Hey, you don't want to deal with the difficulty, there's this option. Like take Monochrome Mobius, for example, or Yakuza Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, or Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne, the remaster. You know, they give you options to exploit the battle mechanics and level up faster and get money faster and make the experience easier. Because, for example, Infinite Wealth does not have any difficulty settings, okay? So you're gonna be stuck, obviously, with the difficulty as it is, and it's still a pretty challenging game. But there are ways around it. Star Ocean, the second story, is the same, you know. Eventually you get to this arena, and you can just spend a couple of hours in there, and you'll be completely overpowered. You can beat the game on hard mode, and it's gonna be like if you were playing on easy mode, right? So, but to answer your question, I don't think I will ever... I mean, I've used guides before. Guides with tips, like, oh, to get this, do this, or to do that, you know, this for this boss battle, use this, you know, stuff like that. I think that's okay. Cheating, however, like Shark, like Gameshark and stuff like that, I've never used that in my life. Not because I'm against it, you know, just because I never had one, a Gameshark or anything like that. And I think it's fun. I'm not against it, you know. I think it's fun after you've beaten the game. Because if you use a Gameshark or a cheat code or something like that from the beginning of your playthrough, you're gonna get a different experience, right? Unless you use it for some of the hardest video games of all time, like, I don't know, let's go back to Ninja Gaiden on the NES or Battletoads. Maybe it will be more justifiable. But for RPGs, you know, you kinda destroying the experience. It isn't meant to be cheated on. I mean, if you want to cheat, just grind. Okay, spend hours grinding or look up for tips online, something like that. I mean, it isn't cheating, it's just following advice. Whether using a Gameshark or something like that, just to cheat and break the game from the beginning of your first playthrough. No, I mean, I will use probably, I've never done this before, but maybe one day, I will use something like that for my second playthrough or something if the game doesn't have like a new game plus. You know, a lot of modern games, not just modern, you know, also games from the past, but mostly modern RPGs let you carry over your levels, your equipment, so you're overpowered on your second playthrough, so you don't need to do that, right? But in some games where you just don't, or you just can't, it would be interesting to use some kind of cheat code or something like that to be completely overpowered from the beginning and destroy everything. Yeah, it would be fun, but it's just not something that I will do on my first playthrough of any RPG in existence, you know. And I'm also the type of guy who refuses, straight up refuses, and I've done this since my first RPGs, back when I played Chrono Cross and Super Mario RPG, you know, which were some of my first RPGs, Final Fantasy IX. I refuse to look up a walkthrough unless I'm like, you know what? I have no clue where to go or what to do. I give up. I've tried my fucking best. I'm done. And then I look it up. So, yeah, don't cheat. They say that the PS5 is already halfway out on its life cycle. No way, hell, no, man. Halfway, no. Maybe next year. I mean, it's only not even 3.5 years old. No way is it on its halfway on its life cycle, man. No way. Who's saying that? Hiroki Totoki, the PlayStation CEO, was the one who said the PS5 is halfway through its life cycle. That makes my argument completely invalid then. If the CEO himself said that, then... Wow, that's sad. That's too fucking sad. Not even 4 or 5 years old and we're already halfway through. That's pathetic, man.